We have a lot of exciting things to go over today. So let's get started. I want to thank you all so much for being here today, taking the time out of your day to spend an hour with QGive and with Julia, and to talk about all things social media, and how those best practices can be used in your year-end campaigns. Haven't mentioned who I am yet. I'm Wendy with the QGive marketing team, and I'm the content and education specialist. So I oversee our educational resources such as webinars like this, and research studies and all of that fun stuff. So I'm really excited to be spending the next hour with all of you. And before we dive into our awesome session today, I do have a few housekeeping items that I want to go over. Firstly, we are recording this webinar, and you will receive the recording via email tomorrow around 2 o'clock, and you also receive a copy of the slides and some extra resources from QGive, Bloomerang, and Julia. So keep an eye on your inbox if you're interested in rewatching this session or sharing it with peers, sharing it with others. This webinar is also eligible for CFRE credit if that is a goal you're going for. The follow-up email will also have a tracking sheet for your use as well. And when you exit the webinar, please fill out the quick survey that just helps us steer and drive future content for you all. We are using the chat feature as we are, so you can message other attendees, you can message Julia and myself, and please try and keep any questions in the Q&A just so they don't get lost. I think that is it for housekeeping items. So a little bit before we dive in today about QGive. We are an online fundraising platform providing digital fundraising tools to over 6,500 nonprofits throughout the United States and Canada. So we offer donation forms, event registration forms, auction tools, and more. And at the beginning of this year, QGive joined forces with Bloomerang to provide an all-in-one giving platform that puts relationships at the heart of your fundraising. And so if you're curious about what that looks like, or you want to learn a little bit more, head to the QGive website, or reach out. So with all of that out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Julia so she can dive into our webinar for today.
Hey, thank you so much. All right, can everyone see my screen? Awesome. So welcome everyone, and just thanks so much, Wendy, and for the QGive team for having me here. If you do have questions throughout, I do encourage you to use the Q&A feature. It helps sort of curate them and keep them all together so that I can answer them at the end. And if you want to use the chat to chime in or say something like, this is what I do, or we do this, or we struggle with this. I mean, that's really the place for community. And that's kind of how I have been using it. So I would just love to hear from you throughout the webinar, what you're working on, what you're doing, and what you're thinking. I will not spend too much time on my bio. We have a lot of slides to get through, and I want to make sure I answer your questions. Once again, if you're joining us right now, you will get the recording sent to you. But for me, I started my journey with nonprofits I was in college. I mean, I've worked for nonprofits and volunteered all through high school, but I was the teen program director at an organization called Teen Voices. And then I served in the US Peace Corps. I've been a development director, a marketing director, and sort of all things between. Shout out to my people that are development, marketing, volunteer coordination, cleaning the coffee maker, and then you go, for a meeting and ask a donor for $15,000. Like that's literally what I used to be doing. So I get it if you're doing all of the things and juggling all of the plates. So the only thing I would really recommend now, I have a podcast that dives deep into topics of social media and storytelling. It's Nonprofit Nation. It's totally free. Listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. QGive has been a very generous sponsor of the podcast. And I'm just really excited to talk to you today, but also I dive a lot deeper into specific topics on my podcast. So right now, we're going to really talk a little bit about what's going on with social media and how to drive organic social media engagement at year end. Of course, you can use social media ads if you like, and then some tools that you can use to save time and inspire creativity. Now I have a year-end calendar for you. The link might not be working in the slides, but I will put it into the chat. You should be able to at least view it. So this is my Giving Tuesday campaign calendar. Now, of course, are we 3 months out? No, it's December 3rd. So you adapt as necessary for you. Everything that I teach, I try to teach best practices and general high level, like what's working right now. It might not work for you. It might not work for your nonprofit. It might not work for your organization, your needs, and your structure and your bandwidth. So every single thing I teach, I just want to help give you these options and inspiration and ideas and tools. And then you can take it from there and figure out if it's going to work for you. So this is my Giving Tuesday campaign checklist. You can also just make this like your year-end campaign checklist. All about necessary assets that you might need, your pitch. We're going to talk a lot about all of this and the content that you need to create. So I hope that is a helpful tool for you. I personally love Giving Tuesday. I know people have conflicted feelings about it. So what is going on with social media right now? I was just talking to Wendy. I was saying Threads is like blowing up. A lot of my clients are like loving Threads. Pinterest is blowing up again. Obviously X is pretty interesting place. Facebook organic reach is kind of down. What is going on? Now, we've all been in this meeting, right? Why isn't social media magically solving all of our problems? Well, there's a really easy answer to that. It's never going to solve all of your problems. It's a tool. It's a tool in your toolbox. It's not a strategy in and of itself. It is not a plan in and of itself. Like getting on Instagram, that's not a plan. That is a tool or tactic. It's sort of like, let's hook up a phone line, right? Let's get a fax machine if you still have that. I don't know. So it's exactly like that. It's a tool. Nonprofits are using social media. I love to see the increased use of LinkedIn. I love to see the increased use of YouTube. Actually, YouTube is really important for discoverability. It's the #2 search engine owned by the #1 search engine. So like I always say, none of this is prescriptive. It's just to sort of give you the lay of the land and some landscape and some benchmarking that you can then go and say to your organization, or just use it to, better your own knowledge of what's going on. There is an awesome report that Hootsuite created, and I do want to put it into the chat for you. Hootsuite's one of my favorite social media tools. They're just incredible humans as well, but they created a specific report around nonprofit social media trends. And what they found is that actually Instagram gets the most engagement while LinkedIn is #2, which I think is crazy. So you want to read this report. It will give you a lot of statistics that I don't have time to cover. And then it will actually give you some actionable strategies, but it's a really great report. What I want to discuss today, this is the most important graph of the entire webinar. We know why we use social media for our organizations, but do we really understand why our donors are using it? Do we really understand why our supporters are using it? This is where we get stuck because we don't understand why people are using it and what people want to see from us. Okay, #1, great. We can't keep up. Keeping up with friends and family. We can't compete in that realm. And that will always be the #1 reason. But then entertaining content, learning new things, pictures and video, ideas, inspiration, news and cultural trends. We can add value in all of those different arenas. So that's how we need to be thinking about it. We need to really flip the switch. Like we want to post our flyers and our events and our promotions and our, whatever we have going on, our fundraising campaigns. But why do people care? Why would people care? Why are people on social media? I love this little quick and easy graphic from Chad Barger at Productive Fundraising. September is for story finding, October is for drafting. This is talking about your annual appeal, but you can convert it into social media strategy. November's for optimizing. So I love the idea of taking September for finding great stories, cultivating content, curating content, drafting it, perfecting it in October, and then kind of launching it out into the world in November. You want to be laser focused on your audience. What do they care about? What interests them beyond your organization's mission? Sort of what ties them together. You're a feline rescue. Well, clearly they care about cats, right? If they care about your mission. Or you're a library, maybe they care about literacy or community. Maybe they care about the importance of connecting together around books, the importance of connecting together around art. So think about what binds your audience together, what makes them a community of like-minded people, because social media is supposed to be bringing people together around things that they all care about. This is my general framework for the kind of content that you're going to be sharing. This is how you should be thinking year round, but especially at year end. You cannot just go into full promotion mode. You have to earn the right to ask. You have to earn the ability to promote. If you are paying attention to what your audience wants, and 80% of the time on social media, you're sharing content that's interactive, that educates, that inspires, that entertains, that connects, then 20% of the time you have earned that right to maybe ask. It's really like if a complete stranger came up to you, I don't know. I just feel like if it's like a friend that you haven't talked to in years and they all of a sudden texted you and they needed something, and you would probably be a little put off by that. Maybe you wouldn't, but I think we need to respect that our audience, they're not ATMs. Okay. It's not a transactional relationship that we want with them. We want them to feel like they're part of a transformation. So an example, a client I work with, Road Scholar, they were getting very little engagement on Facebook. They had about 200,000 followers and they were getting zero engagement. They'd worked really hard to build it. They focus on Facebook because their audience is predominantly older adults. And then they started creating these graphics around things that their audience cares about. They love a good, like, someone was born this day, right? Someone was born this day on this day in history. Those work really, really well for their audience. They might not work for yours, but they work really well for Road Scholar. They also like to share content and articles that are about empowering elderly adults, older adults. Things like age has not defined me, ballet classes giving women over 50 their confidence back, those kinds of things, because they know who their audience is and they know what they're interested in. Asking these kinds of questions also really helps build community. So if this works for them, you also don't have to do this kind of content on Facebook. If you're on other channels, you can try experimenting with this kind of content on the other channels you're on, depending where you are. Maybe you're on Instagram or Threads or TikTok. But Lou is aging adventurously. Are you retired or still working? The Kentucky Derby happens today. If you could name a racehorse, what would you name it? Like, think about the kind of content that you're sharing. Is it fully promotional or is it truly interactive and community building? So they even went one step further and they created social media tutorials because their audience wanted to connect with them on social media. But they're maybe older adults. This was probably like 6 years ago. They didn't really know what the first step was. So they created a series of tutorials, because think about it. You got to love on your donors, love on your audience, have empathy for them, right? They don't owe us anything. Like, we need to be coming to them where they are in the way that they want to learn about what we do. So if you do get the slides, or you can just Google this Road Scholar Instagram tutorial, it's actually really helpful and a real value add for their audience. 2 important social media principles: make it all about your audience and who you want to attract and who you want to keep. And then design it for the platform where you're posting. You want to repeat after me. Design it for the platform where you are posting. YouTube is different than TikTok. TikTok is different than LinkedIn. LinkedIn is different than Instagram. There are overarching social media principles, but each platform is its own country with its own rules, its own etiquette, its own currency. Think if you went to Germany and you bought a guidebook for France. Just because they're neighboring countries does not mean that they are the same, right? So we have to think about social media in that way. Like if you're planning a trip to Europe, you're going to plan a trip to Europe, but you're going to probably research each individual country. That's how we need to start thinking about our social media strategy, and when we're choosing platforms, who is our audience? How can we reach them best? And like, what are our goals? Where are we looking to spend time? You cannot be everywhere. And I don't want you to be everywhere. I want you to be focused on one or two platforms that you can do well. I do not want an inch wide. Wait, what is it? A mile long and an inch wide, right? That's not what I want. So when you're choosing the right goals for your nonprofit, you got to ask these questions. I'm just going to take TikTok, right? So say your board member says, we have to be on TikTok. Okay. Why are we using TikTok specifically? How does TikTok offer us something different to other platforms? What attracted us to TikTok in the first place? Like, what made you think about TikTok? How can TikTok assist us in achieving the overall marketing goals and fundraising goals we set for ourselves? And how much time or budget can we commit to TikTok? Because it requires a lot of time, not a lot of budget, but a lot of time. And we know time is money. So these are the questions you're asking when you're looking at and you're evaluating and auditing your platforms. I think everyone should be auditing what they're doing before year end, with the big year end push, with the big Giving Tuesday push. These are the questions that you need to be asking. The only way to get more followers are to be consistent, to be engaging, and then to get found. Okay. So there are 3 separate buckets of growing your following. Now, what I normally see when I do my social media audits, so I do audits and assessments and then build out a social media strategy for my clients. Consistency is number 1. Like, so it's sort of like if you're a personal trainer, like, and I went to my personal trainer and I said, well, I work out once a week and maybe have a salad like once a month. And they said, well, then you can't expect to do anything with that. You have to create this plan, both in content, cadence, and style. You also can't just post and leave. You have to engage with other accounts. You have to tag people. You have to be there. You have to be present. And hashtags, I mean, we could do an hour on hashtags, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But basically, hashtags are a way to get found by people that are searching. It's almost like a search term. It's filtering out information on the internet, and it's a way to get found by people searching for that topic. Speaking of all of these things, consistency, engagement, and hashtags, what are you going to share? Now, what are you sharing in that 80% on the pie chart, right? 80% engaging, interacting, value add, entertaining. Behind the scenes content, fantastic. Oh, when I was talking to Wendy before, and I was saying, really the only way that we are going to stand out amongst the crazy clutter and all of the AI ChatGPT stuff that's out there, which by the way, I love ChatGPT. We'll just put that in another, table that. But we cannot rely on ChatGPT to create all of our content because we're going to just look and sound like everybody else. What's going to set us apart? Behind the scenes content, stories, educational content that only we can create. What is your knowledge center? What do you want to be known for? Where do you want to be a go-to resource? Showing the human side of your organization, the culture at your organization, things that are fun and lighthearted, client stories, volunteer stories, get to know the team, do an Instagram takeover, have your interns take over your Instagram, do a partner showcase. There are all sorts of creative ways that we can lend our humanity into these channels, because it really is the only way that we're going to stand out amongst all of the clutter and all of the AI generated garbage out there, basically. So we need to figure out what is unique to us. What can the AI not get, right? They can't get the stories. They don't know the stories. They can make them up, but they can't get the real ones. They don't know what goes on the ground, in our offices, in the field, on the playground, wherever we are. They don't know what goes on. So this is how we're really, really going to stand out. And this humanity is something that people are really grasping for on social media. So humans, this is the Essex Public Library, talking to people, asking them why they go there, even just a quote. It doesn't have to be this crazy, it really doesn't have to be this, 10-page long dissertation. It really can be a quote. It's all about humanizing, putting the human back into social media content. To write love on her arms, they showcase a lot of different quotes like this. So they don't usually talk to people. They do a lot of graphics that just have quotes, and then in the caption, they kind of give you more information. So that is an option, of course, if you have confidentiality issues. Talking about your year-end campaign, building up buzz and like excitement. So Children's Partnership, we're 1 week away from Giving Tuesday. And this is a staff member, so it's not a client. Community engagement advocate shares what we do to provide resources for the community, and here's a way to give. And Michelle Obama highlighted the Global Girls Alliance, but I think this is a great thing that any of us could do, asking people what they're thankful for this holiday season, how they plan to pay it forward. I think those are great campaign ideas, but it's all building up to the big ask. How are we setting up our website, right? How are we setting up our website that we're pointing people to at year end? What are the words that we're using? Help every child by 12/31. This year, your support is more important than ever. Make your year-end gift. Think about the words you're using. Are they activating? Are they inspiring? Are they going to actually make me take out my wallet and click that donate button? We also need to be thinking about the engagement piece that I talked about. So consistency is one thing, consistency in cadence, consistency in branding, making sure that I know that it's you. When I'm making a gift, when I click off social media and I go to your website, I know that it's you. It makes sense. But then engagement, engaging with other accounts, tagging other people where relevant. You don't want to just tag people that don't make any sense. Follow other accounts, okay? We're not Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift follows 0 people on Instagram and has, 100 billion followers. We're not Taylor, okay? We want to be, but we're not. So we have to follow other accounts that make sense for us, share others' content. I know I work with the Boston Foundation, and I work with several initiatives under the Boston Foundation. And we have a strategy on LinkedIn that we share partners' content twice a week on our LinkedIn page. It has built our following. It has built affinity and trust. And it has really made a huge difference in terms of our ability to engage people in partnership. Find other people, use the explore search feature, search on hashtags, search on keywords, search on location. If you are a local nonprofit, you should be connecting with the other nonprofits in your area. Search on location. You can do that on social media. We can't get away from video. This is a social media webinar. How am I not going to talk about video? Video is the most engaging type of content you can share. The other thing is, video is really going to be what makes you stand out amongst all the AI content. Now, I know there are tons of AI generated videos. I'm talking about the real videos, like you and your phone, a live video of you stuffing envelopes or packing backpacks or feeding families or, collecting food for a food drive. Like, what is the unique special sauce of what you do? If you can go live, that is the best way to get engagement, and that's the best way to get views. People love live video. They do. I find that Facebook Live is not as engaging anymore, but Instagram Live certainly, TikTok Live certainly, YouTube and LinkedIn are all very, very engaging. I mean, you want to get engagement. This is how you're going to get it. When you go live, if you go live, you want to encourage people to share, to interact with you, just like this. This is live. You know, encourage people, ask questions, ask comments, shout them out in the chat. Say thanks for joining. Encourage that live interaction. Interact with the people. Mention people by name. You know, make it not a broadcast. Make it seem like this is something we're doing to inform you about this great work. We would like, especially on Giving Tuesday, going live and saying, this is what we're doing on Giving Tuesday. Oh my gosh, we're so excited. We want to raise $5,000 to help 20 more dogs get vaccinated, whatever it might be. And then invite people to get notifications. You want to use the features of the platform. So this is key for anything, whether or not you're going live, using the features of the platform. So on Instagram, you have an ask me anything. People can interact with you. They can ask you questions. You can go live with other people. You can do polls. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to be interactive. And that's going to really help your audience understand that you're humans and there are humans running this organization. That's going to build trust. So some potential topics: Giving Tuesday, year end, your launch of your year end campaign, when you have a big announcement to make, when you launch a new program or a new service, a behind the scenes, in the moment look at your office and in the field. Like maybe you're going live your last day of being in the office in 2024 and you're reflecting on what 2024 meant. I saw this a lot in 2020 and I want to see it more. I would love to see more reflections, more honesty, more transparency, more this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is where we need your help. This is where we need your help in 2025. This is where we need your help at year end. You can do a Q&A, ask me anything, a live chat with other people, like what's going on with homelessness in our community, a live chat with the food bank or the mayor, or I mean, there's a million things you can do. Celebrating major milestones. Someone worked there for 30 years. We just did in my school district, we just had our opening breakfast for all the teachers and administrators, and I'm on the school committee here. And we live streamed the what's it called? The award, it's not awards, recognition, the recognition ceremony for teachers that had worked in the district 30 years, and 35 years. We had some 35 years. So we live streamed that on the school district Instagram account because it was just really cool. Something cool, you know, it's awesome. And people loved it. If you can, you know, plan ahead, let people know this is something you're going to do. Amira does a really great job of doing this. If not, don't worry, just go live. Like, don't overthink it. That's the key. If you can plan it, plan it. If you can't, don't overthink it. Same with Instagram stories. Now, stories are one of the most popular features on Instagram. And it's just a really fun way for you to build up engagement and hopefully reach more people leading up to your year-end ask. Now, there's all sorts of features, right? The key here, whether you're using YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram, viewers do not want perfection. They want personality. I'll say that again. Viewers do not want perfection. They want personality. Does anyone follow Jonathan Van Ness on Instagram from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? He has the best Instagram stories because it is him in his apartment, hair up with his cats, just, you know, doing whatever. Those are what we want. We don't want a perfect picture of him and produced. Like, you want to see people in their real element and how they really are. Brighten someone's day, you know, say something that like a happy thing that happened. Experiment with these different features. That is really kind of the key to success on Instagram, experimenting with all these features. It is about documenting, and it's not content content creation. Really, it's about documenting. What are some topics? A day in the life, how to informational educational articles. Look at what Fight Colorectal Cancer did. 12 self-care tips for the holidays, and each tip was a different story or a different post. There's all sorts of things that you can do to create this kind of engagement leading up to year end or during your year end campaign. Share a great song. You can share from Spotify onto your story, a this or that. I've seen that a lot, actually. Like, are you upset that summer's over and happy it's fall starting? Are you brat summer? Are you demure fall? Like, I've seen a lot of that. You don't have to play into memes, and that could be something that is relevant to you. This happens to be a slide that I created for a presentation to an association of libraries, because there are just so many great ways you can do that. But what are some books that are related to your cause, to your issue area? What are some questions that you can ask your community? National Poetry Month. Everyone has a national month. Every one of you has a cause and awareness month, or a cause and awareness day or week that you can play on, that you can showcase, that you can create content around. We just have to get creative. Asking questions. We're going live. Send us your questions. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? That's Women's Health UK. And then, of course, you can use these tools at year end for fundraising. You can, of course, use the donate button on Facebook. You can use the donate sticker on Instagram. There's really a lot of ways that you can incorporate the tools that are already there into what you're doing. So I just want to take a quick sip of my iced tea. Now, what I want to encourage you to do is not bite off more than you can chew. I want to share with you a case study, Candid, formerly GuideStar. They are a research organization. They have no animals, no landscapes, no oceans, no kids, no adults, no anybody, really. They're a research-driven ocean. They're a research-driven. Can you tell that I want to go to the beach? I really want to go to the beach. It's so beautiful outside. But anyway, they are a research and advocacy organization. They wanted to start creating short form video, and they were like, well, what are we going to say? Because we can't feature client stories. They opened a TikTok account. They used their existing Instagram account, but they had a very specific parameters, right? And it's like an experiment, a science experiment. They wanted to create 22 social media videos under 90 seconds in duration over a 3-month period, with the caveat that staff would not be overly burdened. That is something whether you want to create 22 videos, but I think all of us can take this experiment and learn from it. How can we have a goal? Like, the goal is, I want to create short form video. Okay, well, that's sort of like saying, I want to lose 20 pounds. Great. You throw it out in the air. It's not going to happen unless you have a plan for it. What does that mean? So having these specifics, once they did the experiment, then they could figure out if it was working for them. And they really liked the results that they got. 92% increase, 72% increase on TikTok, 12% increase in followers. The staff time was the one caveat that took them a little more time, but they were trying to figure out how to balance the other results with the staff time. So they hired an intern. There were all sorts of creative ways that they could go forward with their experiment. So what I want you to do with all of these ideas I'm giving you is not just write down, oh, I got to use more Instagram reels. We will create 3 Instagram reels for Giving Tuesday that are under 90 seconds without taking up 3 hours of staff time, whatever it might be. Being that specific is going to really help you. Looking at what other nonprofits and other people do, thought leaders on Instagram and TikTok, is really helpful. So this is Western Water Girl. All of you can follow her. She's an amazing thought leader in Colorado. Invisible People, one of my absolute favorites, on YouTube and on Instagram and even on LinkedIn. They share a lot of just short videos interviewing people experiencing homelessness, not overproduced. Main takeaways when you're diving in, like I said, People don't want perfection. They want personality. You don't need fancy equipment to succeed. You don't have to follow trends. You don't have to do dances. Like, look at Candid. Our top videos were authentic conversations on topics that we knew would be valuable for our audiences. That's the point. If it's not your thing, don't do it. If it makes you feel icky, don't do it. Now, here are some organizations using short form video. If you can't use these links, just look them all up on Instagram. Overdrive, the Public Library, PETA, Charity Water, Pencils of Promise. What I'm encouraging you to do is not try to emulate what they're doing, but just look at them for ideas and inspiration. Just try to get ideas and inspiration. You don't want to copy what they're doing, of course, and you can't because they're larger organizations, but just look at them for ideas and inspiration. Social media, especially as we're building up to our year-end asks, perfect place to stay top of mind and to thank people, to remind them why they're part of our community. What about a story that you shared earlier in the year? Can you revisit it? A story that you shared in an email or an annual appeal. Can you revisit it? Can you say more about it? Can you talk more about it? We need to repurpose our stories much more often, I think, than we do. I think we tend to reinvent the wheel constantly, and we don't need to be doing that, especially at year end. Let's do more of what works, right? If something is really working and you know that that's getting a lot of engagement, or that was a great email that worked in the spring, revisit it for year end and see what happens. Thank you for supporting us. We exceeded our goal. Make sure that people understand they appreciate their donations are appreciated, and they're going to become part of a movement. They're going to become part of a bigger community. I love this. Is there somewhere that I can donate? Yes, of course there is. We appreciate your donations today, tomorrow, next week, even next year. I love this like invitation. It's almost like an invitation, like this Giving Tuesday. Let this be the start of a loving relationship with us. It's very inviting. We don't want to be manipulative. I'm not into manipulative fundraising. I'm not into fundraising that makes me feel bad. I don't mind a story that makes me think. I don't mind a story or an appeal that makes me maybe angry or sad so that I want to support the cause. But I feel like that's different than overt manipulation. And we've seen some manipulation, right? The Sarah McLachlan ads, not a big fan. The ASPCA with Arms of the Angels raised millions of dollars for animals. So that's great. But people are now completely fatigued of it. So you want to make sure it does, it treads that edge, or it toes that line. Thinking of, look at this photo. It's just a staff member holding a thank you, right? Giving Tuesday made a difference. I think the key here is we need to actually tell people what we did when we asked. So if you did a big Giving Tuesday campaign, tell people what happened. If you did a big year-end campaign, if you are doing these campaigns, tell people what happened. So often I donate and then I never hear anything ever again. So I don't really, don't do that. Don't ghost your donors. And then, what about having fun? What about having fun on social media? A lot of us have very, very heavy duty topics. I've worked in domestic violence. I've worked at rape crisis centers. I've worked with survivors of human sex trafficking. I've worked in very, very, very heavy topics. I understand if there's no levity and you cannot provide that levity and that humor online. I understand. For a lot of us, we can definitely get out of our comfort zone and create kind of a fun, maybe something fun, like National Park Service. They're constantly doing that. The TSA is my favorite Instagram account. Okay. Who would have thought? So look at what other people are doing and kind of see if there's things that you can do that are in that realm that are maybe not so serious. They don't have to be a cat video. Although if you have cats, it should be, because cats are awesome. So the long-term strategy, remix and recycle. Okay. You work so hard on your annual appeal. Why not chop it up and put it on LinkedIn? put it on Instagram, figure out how to mold that content in other places, your email, your blog content, your content archives. All of us have those content archives. They have annual reports. We have so much content that we've created. Let's repurpose it. Let's reimagine it. Let's re-envision it. I mean, we don't want to continually be reinventing the wheel. That's why we're getting so burned out, is we think that every piece of content has to be new and in the moment. It can be evergreen. It can be something that we have used before or looked at before. So before we get to questions, I want to give you a few tools. None of these will probably be a surprise to anybody. Canva, of course, amazing to create social media graphics, GIFs, videos, all sorts of things. Animoto is my favorite go-to for creating short form video. I know a lot of people like CapCut as well on their phones. I'm a big fan of ChatGPT for repurposing content. So you have this 48-page annual report that you send out. Why not put it into ChatGPT and say, give me 10 ideas for Facebook posts? And it's really great for doing things like that. So if this is, let me see, this is also nonprofit tech for good. Give an NP tech for good a lot of love today, but she is amazing. So this is just, kind of some ideas for you there in that arena. Hootsuite, another one of my favorites. You can save up to 75%. Scheduling measurement Buffer offers 50% discounts. They also have this really cool tool called Remix. On Instagram, if you're on Instagram, you sometimes see a tweet and it somehow looks perfect for Instagram. Then they're probably using Remix. So it's just a great way to once again, use things you're posting on other channels and repurpose them and make it adaptable and make sure that it is correctly formatted and looks good for another channel. So it's actually pretty cool. The trends are going to come and go. Trends will come and go. Tools will come and go. I'm going to talk to you next year. There's going to be a new platform. Maybe TikTok will be banned. Who knows, right? Trends come and go. We do not control trends. We do not control what Party City puts out for its Halloween decorations either. This was a costume. Portable cassette player with headphones. If you had a Walkman, raise your hand. Okay. I had a Walkman. I love my Walkman. We were at Party City. My son walked up to me and said, "Can I buy this?" And I thought it was a real Walkman. And I got very excited. He had no idea what it was. And then I thought, you know what? The love of music and the way we listen to music has changed, but has not changed. But the ways we listen to music have changed, right? So if you think about it, we were listening on 8-tracks and records and Discmans and CDs and Walkmans and now Spotify and now our phone. And there's all sorts of different ways to listen to music, but the love of music hasn't changed. So the trends will come and go, but your love, your commitment, your value that you're providing to your donors and your supporters, that should not change, no matter what the trend is, no matter the platform that you're using. So, all right, we have lots of questions I see in the Q&A. I'm so excited for them. If you want to connect, listen to Nonprofit Nation. I have episodes on ethical storytelling and AI and fundraising and I mean, all the things. I have been really fortunate to be able to get some amazing guests on this podcast. My website is there. Connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is my favorite place to be on social media right now. I have an Instagram, I have Facebook, I have all the things, but LinkedIn is kind of my favorite place to be, where I post the most information. So if you want to connect with me, I will put the link in the chat as well. And then we will get to your questions. Okay. All right. Angela asked, what is the free AI app that's for nonprofits? Wendy would like to answer this question. Okay, Wendy, do you want to answer it? Oh, she did answer it.
Okay. I was just trying to check it off for you.
Oh, well, there's a few. There's many. Designed for nonprofits? I think ChatGPT There's many that are free. So what I would do is look, you can use Claude or Gemini if you're in Google, Gemini AI. Apple is going to have one soon. So there's many tools that are free and that can be used specifically for nonprofits. So I would just see the one that, play around with them, experiment, and see the one that you really like. Okay, how important is the engagement aspect of social media? I see a lot of organizations pushing out social media content without interacting with their followers. If you just throw it out there, you won't engage many people. Yeah, exactly. So what happens is that, and I'm going to just stop sharing my screen. What tends to happen is that we look at social media as a billboard, like a traditional, like we're just going to throw it out there, post a flyer like in Starbucks, and then put up a billboard. And that is not what it's meant for. That is not what it's meant to do. That is not why people are on there. So if people are engaging with your content in any way on any platform, you should be acknowledging them or answering their questions or giving them a shout out, because you cannot just post and leave. You cannot just post and leave. So that's why I'm not a big into scheduling tools, because I don't want you to schedule so much that you can't interact. Emily, I'm the development coordinator for our nonprofit that serves unhoused people. 75% of our posts naturally become solicitations for donation support. How can we move away from asking so much? Well, you have to be very strategic about it. So if you follow that 80-20 rule, where 80% is storytelling, it's sharing anecdotes, it's sharing what the problem is and why the problem is such a problem in your area. Why should I care about this problem? It really can be educating people, but it doesn't necessarily have to turn into a direct solicitation. But you can be giving people the information that they want without necessarily asking them. So this is why I do my podcast. This is why I write my blog. This is all building trust and affinity, showing that I'm the go-to expert. I'm a thought leader in the field, so that when I have a course to sell or when I have something to sell or promote, then they'll be like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer because I've been following all of Julia's content all this time. So if you look at it like that, it's really just helping build that infrastructure so that when you ask, people say, oh, this is a no-brainer. I've been reading their stories all year. I know the great work they're doing. So I'm just going to hit the donate button. Like that's really the ideal. Is there such a thing as posting too much in one day anymore? Mallory says, it depends on the platform. People on TikTok post like 5-10 times a day, right? You don't have to, but that's the norm. If you did that on LinkedIn, I don't even think the LinkedIn algorithm would let you do that. So it completely depends on the platform. I post to my stories sometimes. Sometimes I'll post like 10 stories if I'm doing something interesting, right? If I'm traveling, if I'm going somewhere. Normal day, I'm not going to post that much on my stories because it's not interesting. But if I'm doing something interesting, I'm going to post more. If you think about it like that, you have to think about the features. So Instagram stories, TikTok, they're designed like something like Snapchat, they're designed so that you can post these short little snippets more frequently. Something like your Instagram feed, from what I've seen, works best when you carefully curate that for your best stuff. So posting too much in one day, yeah, if you're posting a bunch of crap, then I think so. But if you are posting 12 tips or helpful things or a live video around an event that you're doing, then it's all dependent on, is it adding value to your audience? Is it helpful? Is it interesting? Or is it like fun? So I think that posting too much in one day really depends on what you're posting and the platform that you're posting on. I heard once that you should use hashtags on Instagram, but not Facebook. Is this still the case? I think Facebook hashtags on Facebook look spammy. I don't know why. I think we're just not used to them. Instagram, of course, there's like the nature of Instagram. People use hashtags on Instagram all the time. People use hashtags on TikTok. They use them on YouTube. They use them on LinkedIn. But I would, like anything else, be purposeful, like quality over quantity. Be very purposeful and don't just add a hashtag because you can. Okay, yes. Emily, all I hear from higher ups is about including call to actions in every post, of course, because they don't know how to use social media, probably. Is this just turning people away? Should we do away with the typical visit blah, blah, blah to support us? Should our posts speak for themselves? There's like many questions. I feel like this question is like 5 questions. I want to get on my soapbox for a little bit because when I deal with clients and talk to clients, I get so incensed at the higher ups or board members telling people how to do their job. It's like, I'm on the school committee. I am not going to tell the superintendent how to do his day-to-day work. I'm going to manage the values of the school district. I'm going to manage the overall marketing plan or the plan, the technology plan. There's overall things that I'm doing, but I'm not going to go sit in his office and say, you need to be doing this hour by hour. And that's what tends to happen. People don't trust us that we are the experts. They don't trust us that we know what we're doing. And then they read some article in the Wall Street Journal that says, oh, you have to get on Instagram, and they tell us to get on Instagram. Makes me crazy, makes me really crazy. All we can do is just advocate for things that we know are working and things that we know are right for our organization. And in general, posting a lot of links that go to outside sites on social media does not work because they don't want you to go to an outside site. Think about if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you want people to stay on Facebook. You don't want them to leave Facebook. This is why the donate button was created during the Ice Bucket Challenge 10 years ago, by the way. 10-year anniversary was this summer of the Ice Bucket Challenge. Mark Zuckerberg, brilliant businessman, like whether or not you think he's insane, but he's a brilliant businessman. He saw people doing the Ice Bucket Challenge, clicking off and going to another website to make a donation. And he said, what if we harnessed that? What if we kept them all on Facebook and Instagram? What if because we want to collect that data and we want them not to leave the site. So if you think about it from a business perspective, people don't want you to click off the site. Like the businesses don't want you to. So posting a link is not going to be as effective as just letting the post speak for itself. And then when you do have a promotion, hopefully you would have earned that trust in the algorithm so that it won't demote your post. It is just so complicated. And I know it's a very cynical answer, but I hope that helps. And yeah, fight for what you know is right. Fight for what you know is right. If you're like, we don't need to be on TikTok. Why would we be on TikTok? Our audience are, 65-year-old suburban women. Like why, it's sort of like when, I'm working with the Boston Public Schools and we're running a campaign to target teenagers to encourage them to fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And they wanted to be on Facebook. And I said, well, we can target teachers, we can target administrators and parents on Facebook. We're not going to get teenagers. So the platform has to match the audience that you're trying to reach. We support children and adults with autism. This is Caitlin, and intellectual disability. When we share stories about the people we support, we get a lot of great interactions. Some of the families we support, especially for children, don't feel comfortable sharing their child's image. Can you suggest ways to share stories without a photo of the person we are talking about? Yes, there's tons and tons of ways. You could talk, Caitlin, about the story. A staff member could talk about the story. The parent could talk about the story. The executive director could share the story, or you could just post, a butterfly. You could post a flower. I mean, there's lots of ways. There's an organization, I have shared some examples, Amira Incorporated. They work with survivors of sex trafficking, and they never share the actual survivors. They usually share like a beautiful graphic or a photo, or sometimes a staff member sharing an anecdote. So you do not always have to answer, you don't always have to share the client story on your social media. And that's something important to remember for all of us. When we're sharing a story on social media, would that person be proud to see it? Like, would they say, oh, this is me? It might not be a fully happy story and it might be a tough story to hear, but this represents me and I'm proud of it. This is the lens that we should always be looking through when we tell our stories. Like, would this person be proud to see it if it was on our website or if it was on social media? Morgan, what can we do if we can't make our content lighthearted and fun? Look at what Candid did. So go follow candid.org on all of their channels. They really are very just academic and research focused. They're answering questions like, how do I get a 501c3 designation? They're basically just answering their frequently asked questions that they get from their audience. So think about what your questions are. What are the myths and misconceptions that you can ask? Look at Invisible People. Invisible People does an incredible job on social media. Not a single thing they share is lighthearted or fun. Tough stories, tough information, tough, really hard to hear data, really hard to hear statistics about homelessness in the United States. And it's all just about making people think, you know, what can you give them that's going to make them think, that's going to make them interested, that's going to kind of pique their curiosity? It doesn't have to be lighthearted and fun. Let me see. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Wendy, I don't know if you want to kind of take us out. I hope that, can I get these questions sent to me in a document? Because they're really great. If you didn't get your question answered, then I recommend, you know, I can give you my email. I'm happy to do that. Let me see.
I will get a report.
Yeah, it's okay. And you know, there's never enough time, and it's fine because we want to respect your time. I'll give you my email. Follow me on LinkedIn, message me there, and yeah, you can always send me an email.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was a lot of questions. I appreciate you taking the hour with us, going through all the content. And guys, reach out to Julia, send her an email. She'll definitely help you out. I want to thank everyone so much for attending and participating. The chat was a whole lot of fun today. So thank you again, Julia, and thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, everybody. The work you do is so, so, so important. Keep going. Don't give up. Just know that it matters. And we've got your back. So thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks, Julia. All right, everyone, we'll see you on the next webinar. Have a great day.